Chrono Trigger is a game that is still talked about today. It might even be considered more popular today than it was back when it was first released on the Super Nintendo in 1995. I would not consider the beloved fanaticism that surrounds it merely the product of being in the right place at the right time either. Except for the DS port, Square has been heavily ignoring the series as the franchise has been locked away in the closet, with the last actual sequel being Chrono Cross, released in 1999. But even still, gamers cannot shut up about this title. It is unbelievable how Chrono Trigger managed to get everything right. The common Japanese RPG is stale as hell, and it has always kind of been that way, but Chrono Trigger is a bearing of fruit produced by the collective minds of geniuses. However, it expands just beyond the top dogs. Hironobu Sakaguchi may have created the Final Fantasy series, but his record isn't exactly spotless. Same goes for Yuji Horii, creator of the Dragon Quest series. Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball and character designer of Dragon Quest, did indeed do these character designs as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything either. As great as some of these drawings may be on paper, it was the lower level grunts that adapted them as sprites. These are somehow the ones that managed to project more facial expressions than had previously ever been seen in a 16-bit title, and with such few pixels to work with. It is this sort of brilliance involving everyone on the team that crafted this unbelievable gem. From the moment you first turn this game on, every piece of graphical representation along with every musical note carried out will do nothing but further draw you into Chrono Trigger's world. The audio is magnificent. This is some of the best game music ever made, and it is a reminder to all other game developers out there that music is an important component of video games and it should not be overlooked. One could go on forever about the many facets of Chrono Trigger that were carried out without flaw. Making the characters ever so slightly bigger than the standard Final Fantasy size was also a stroke of genius. The fact that they didn't cut to a separate battle scene but instead fought it out right there showed innovation well before its time. Many of these simple things that we take for granted in RPGs started out right here, a time where no company was willing to do anything beyond attempting to remake Dragon Quest. Chrono Trigger is well known among its fans for having an incredible storyline with great characterization. During my last playthrough, I paid very close attention just to see what Chrono Trigger was doing differently. One observation that amazed me, they really don't talk that much. The ham-fisted dialogue and 30-minute plus conversations in contemporary RPGs were nowhere to be found. No one spent 15 minutes sulking and crying about their insecurities. Characters are pretty much a stereotype to some degree, but it never is excessively rubbed in your face. Japanese RPGs often skimp on the logistics in their storyline in order to shove a moral down your throat. What they do manage to churn out is typically garbage. You wouldn't believe how sick I am of collecting crystals or gemstones or amulets or whatever to defeat the evil overlord who rides around on a freaking dragon alongside my dopey group of friends who just won't shut the hell up about how important their friendship really is. Chrono Trigger takes a chance and uses one of the most difficult storyline concepts and gets it right. Time travel. It is fascinating and so well thought out. Even though, yeah, you and your peeps are still all kids, the worthless angst is nowhere to be found, while the storyline borderlines close to what makes other RPGs so detestable. The difference is that everything is pulled off just so well, each and every time. Again, with the graphics, with the various locations a time-traveling game would have you visit, each new area looks fantastic. It is amazing how many different moods and feelings are all so nicely captured and contained within one small tiny cartridge. The art is phenomenal. Chrono Trigger is fun to play. It is extremely accessible and yet contains so much quality and depth that it is essentially a work of art. There is so much I could go into. This is the kind of game where once you beat it, you'll be thinking about it for a very long time. You'll want to play through it again just to see all of the storyline connections that you may have missed the first time. It is a game where you can theorize just who certain people were and what they were truly up to. A game where you could write essays on just what was really going on, and I'm not even going to begin to go into what you can piece together once you start lining it up with its sequel, Chrono Cross. So few games get everything right on the surface as well as everything deep beneath so amazingly well. I keep drifting away from this topic, but even the simplistic turn-based battle system is much more fun than it usually would be. Lining up and effectively using team attacks is great. There are very few criticisms I could ever come up with for Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is an incredible game that has passed the test of time with flying colors. The game is pure adventurous bliss. This is one of the greatest RPGs ever created. Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo receives a 10 out of 10.